5. The air in Amelia's garden was thick with the scent of spun sugar and blooming roses. It was a confectioner's dream of an afternoon, a perfect, pastel-hued celebration of new life. Sunlight, filtered through the broad leaves of an old oak tree, dappled across a sea of smiling faces, casting shifting patterns on the white linen tablecloths. Laughter bubbled up like champagne, light and infectious, mingling with the soft clinking of teacups and the gentle rustle of gift wrap. It was, in every conceivable way, the perfect baby shower. And at the heart of it all was my best friend, Amelia, radiant and round and impossibly beautiful. I watched her from across the lawn, my own heart feeling as full and buoyant as the pink and blue balloons tied to the backs of the chairs. She was holding court, a queen on her wicker throne, one hand resting protectively, instinctively, on the perfect globe of her stomach. She was wearing a flowing, buttercup yellow dress that billowed around her, making her look like a benevolent sun goddess. Her hair, usually a cascade of untamed brunette waves, was swept up in an elegant chignon, revealing the graceful line of her neck. But it was her smile that held everyone captive. It was wide and genuine, reaching all the way to her eyes, which sparkled with a joy so profound it seemed to give off its own light. This was the moment we had been talking about, dreaming about since we were girls. We'd spent countless nights in our shared childhood bedroom, whispering secrets to the ceiling, planning our futures in meticulous, giddy detail. We'd planned our weddings, our careers, and most importantly, our children. We'd vowed they would be best friends, just like us. We'd imagined days exactly like this, honest and drenched, full of love, a testament to our enduring bond and the beautiful lives we would build. Seeing it all come to fruition for her filled me with a happiness so fierce it was almost painful. My husband, Liam, came to stand beside me, handing me a glass of sparkling lemonade. He wasn't one for big, boisterous parties, but he was here for me because he knew how much Amelia meant to me. He was a quiet observer, a man who noticed the details others missed. Where I saw the whole, beautiful painting, Liam saw the individual brushstrokes, the subtle shifts in color, the tiny imperfections that gave the piece its true character. "She looks happy," he said, his voice a low, steady rumble next to my ear. His eyes weren't on Amelia, but on me. He knew the complex cocktail of emotions swirling inside me. The pure, unadulterated joy for my friend, tinged with the familiar, quiet ache of our own struggles. We'd been trying for a baby for 2 years, a journey of clinical appointments, crushing disappointments, and forced smiles at events just like this one. But with Amelia it was different. Her joy was my joy. Her victory was my victory. "She's glowing," I breathed, taking a sip of the lemonade. "I've never seen her look like this. It's like pregnancy was the one thing she was missing to be complete." Liam made a noncommittal sound, his gaze finally shifting towards the center of the party. He scanned the scene, his brow furrowed just slightly. I recognized the look. It was his analyst face, the one he wore when he was working through a complex problem at his engineering firm. He saw the world in terms of systems, pressures, and stress points. "What is it?" I asked, nudging him playfully. "Calculating the tensile strength of the balloon strings?" He offered a small, distracted smile. "Something like that, just taking it all in." He didn't elaborate, instead turning his attention to Mark, Amelia's husband. Mark was manning the barbecue, a cloud of smoke temporarily obscuring him. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in his shoulders. He was laughing along with one of his cousins, but it didn't seem to reach his eyes. He looked tired, frayed at the edges, the way a man about to be a first-time father was supposed to look, I guessed. The sleepless nights were just starting early for him. "Mark looks a bit stressed," Liam noted, echoing my thoughts. "Wouldn't you be?" I countered. "They just finished the nursery. He's working overtime to save up for her maternity leave, and he's about to be responsible for a tiny human. I'm surprised he's still standing." "I guess," Liam said, but his tone was unconvinced. He let it drop, and for that I was grateful. I didn't want anything, not even Liam's overanalytical nature, to mar the perfection of the day. I excused myself and made my way through the crowd toward Amelia. Her mother, Carol, a woman with a permanently worried expression etched onto her face, intercepted me, pulling me into a hug that smelled of hairspray and lavender. "Clara, dear, isn't this all just wonderful?" she said, her hands fluttering. I was so worried. You know Amelia so headstrong. She insisted on planning half of this herself. "Mom, I'm pregnant, not an invalid," she'd say. "But look at her. A natural." "She's incredible, Carol," I said honestly. "You must be so proud." "Oh, beyond words. And to think after all that trouble." She lowered her voice conspiratorially. "The doctors weren't sure, you know. After her scare a few years ago, they said it might be difficult. This baby is a miracle. An absolute miracle." I remembered the scare, an ovarian cyst that had required surgery and had left a cloud of uncertainty over Amelia's future fertility. The news of her pregnancy 8 months ago had felt like the sun breaking through after a long storm. It made this day, this celebration, all the more poignant. When I finally reached Amelia, she beamed and pulled me down onto the arm of her wicker throne. "There you are. I was wondering where my co-pilot had gone." "Just admiring the view," I said, squeezing her hand. "Ames, this is perfect. Everything is perfect. We did good, didn't we?" she said, her eyes sweeping over the garden. Her hand went back to her belly. "Little Peanut seems to be enjoying the party. He's been kicking up a storm all morning. I think he's going to be a soccer player." I placed my hand gently on her stomach, over her dress. I'd done this a dozen times over the past few months, hoping to feel the flutter of life within. I'd never been successful, always seeming to miss the moment. "Is he kicking now?" I asked, my voice full of hope. Amelia's smile was beatific. "Oh, you just missed him. A big one, too. Right into my bladder. The little rascal." She laughed, a sound as clear and bright as a bell. "Don't worry, you'll feel him soon enough. He's just shy." I felt a familiar pang of disappointment but pushed it away. It wasn't about me. "I brought you something," I said, reaching for the elegantly wrapped gift I had placed on the mountain of presents. Her eyes lit up. "Clara, you shouldn't have. Your presence is the only present I need." But she was already tearing at the paper with the enthusiasm of a child. Inside was a small, silver-plated music box. On the lid, I'd had it engraved with 2 small figures, 2 girls holding hands, and the words, "A new friend for a new generation." When she opened it, the delicate, tinkling melody of "You Are My Sunshine" filled the small space between us. It was the song our mothers had sung to us, the song we had tearfully sung to each other after our first heartbreaks. Amelia's eyes welled with tears. She threw her arms around my neck, pulling me into a fierce, awkward hug over her belly. "Oh, Clara, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Thank you. He's not even out yet, and I'm already trying to orchestrate his friendships," I joked, my own throat tightening with emotion. "It's going to happen," she whispered, her voice thick with conviction. "Our kids, running around this very garden. I can see it." We were interrupted by the announcement that it was time for the games to begin. The first was the classic guess the melted candy bar in the diaper. I watched as Amelia laughed so hard she cried, her body shaking, one hand still pressed to the small of her back as if to support her heavy belly. She participated in everything with gusto, a picture of vibrant, maternal energy. During the Don't Say Baby game, where each guest wore a clothespin and tried to steal others by tricking them into saying the forbidden word, Amelia was a ruthless competitor. At one point, she dropped her own clothespin. Without thinking, she bent at the waist to pick it up, a quick, fluid motion that was surprisingly agile. I remember thinking, for a fleeting second, wow, she's more flexible than I am, and she's 8 months pregnant. But the thought was a firefly, there and gone in an instant, eclipsed by the general merriment. Liam, I noticed, was watching her too. He wasn't smiling. His expression was unreadable. His eyes narrowed in concentration, as if he were trying to solve a particularly difficult equation. Mark, standing near the gift table, had a strained smile plastered on his face. He looked pale, almost green, under the shade of the oak tree. When his eyes met Liam's for a brief moment, he looked away quickly, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. The party continued its joyful, preordained course. The cake was Kuda magnificent creation with layers of strawberry and cream. The presents were opened, a cascade of tiny onesies, soft blankets, and ridiculously small shoes. With each gift, Amelia's oohs and ahs were pitch perfect. She held a tiny pair of denim overalls up to her belly and said, "Look, Peanut, these are from your Auntie Clara's friend, Susan. Don't you just love them?" She had a story or a connection for every single item, weaving a narrative of a deeply loved, eagerly anticipated child. As the afternoon began to wane and the golden hour approached, casting long shadows across the grass, Amelia rose to give a small speech. Mark stood beside her, his arm draped stiffly around her shoulders. "I just wanted to thank all of you for being here," Amelia began, her voice trembling slightly, "for showering our little boy with so much love before he's even arrived. Looking out at all of you, my dearest friends and family, my heart is just full." Her eyes found mine in the crowd. "And to my best friend, Clara. We have been through everything together. Your support, your love, it has been my anchor. I truly wouldn't be standing here, so happy and so ready for this next chapter, if it weren't for you. I can't wait for our little boys to have a bond as special as ours." Tears were streaming freely down my face now. I was a mess of joyful, sentimental goo. This was the pinnacle, the absolute summit of our friendship. The whole garden seemed to sigh with collective emotion. And that's when it happened. As the applause died down, a small toddler, the son of one of Amelia's cousins, broke free from his mother and made a wobbly, determined run for the gift table. His eyes set on a brightly colored toy. He was moving faster than anyone anticipated. He collided with Amelia's legs, not hard, but with enough force to make her stumble. She gasped, her hands flying out to steady herself. In that split second, as she twisted to regain her balance, her yellow dress hitched up slightly on one side. It was then that Liam's hand clamped around my wrist. It wasn't a gentle touch. It was hard and urgent, a silent, non-negotiable command. His fingers dug into my skin. "What?" I whispered, startled out of my emotional reverie. "We have to leave," he hissed, his voice so low and tight it was almost a growl. "Right now." "Liam, what are you talking about? She just gave that beautiful speech. I can't just—" "Now, Clara." His eyes were cold, flinty. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at Amelia, who had been helped back to her chair by a flustered Mark and was now laughing off the incident, reassuring everyone she was fine. "Liam, stop it. You're hurting my arm," I protested, trying to pull away. The suddenness of it was jarring, a discordant note in the day's perfect symphony. People were starting to notice. I saw Carol, Amelia's mother, looking over at us with a concerned frown. "Let's go," he repeated, his grip unrelenting. He started to pull me, physically towing me away from the heart of the party, around the side of the house toward the front driveway where our car was parked. "What is wrong with you?" I said, my voice rising in a panicked whisper. Embarrassment was flooding me, hot and prickly. "We can't just walk out. What will I tell her? You are being so rude." "She won't care," he said, his voice grim. "Of course she'll care. She's my best friend." "Liam, for God's sake, tell me what's going on." We were at the car now. The happy sounds of the party were still audible, a faint counterpoint to the tense, humming silence between us. Liam unlocked the doors and practically pushed me toward the passenger side. He didn't say another word until we were both inside, the doors shut, cocooned in the sudden, shocking quiet of the vehicle. The silence stretched, thick with my confusion and his unreadable fury. I stared at his profile. His jaw was clenched so tight a muscle jumped in his cheek. His hands were gripping the steering wheel as if he wanted to tear it from its column. "Are you going to tell me what that was about?" I finally demanded, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and hurt. You just humiliated me. You dragged me out of my best friend's baby shower like a child. She's gonna think I'm upset, or that something is terribly wrong. And something is wrong, but it's with you. He took a long, slow breath, the air shuddering out of him. He turned his head and looked at me, and the expression in his eyes made my angry words die in my throat. It wasn't just anger I saw there. It was pity. It was a deep, profound sorrow. He held my gaze for a long moment before he spoke, his voice quiet and devastatingly calm. You really didn't see it, did you? My mind raced, frantically trying to grasp what he could possibly be talking about. See what? The way Mark looked at another woman? No, he'd been glued to Amelia's side. Did someone say something cruel about our own fertility struggles? Was Liam offended on my behalf? Had someone been drinking too much? I replayed the last few hours in my mind, a frantic, jumbled mess of pastel colors, smiling faces, and tiny baby socks. It was all perfect. Too perfect. See what, Liam? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What did I miss? He let out another heavy sigh, the sound full of a weariness that seemed to bone deep. He rested his forehead against the steering wheel for a second, as if gathering the strength to say the words. When he looked back at me, his face was a mask of grim finality. What he said next made my heart stop beating, and then plummet, a dead weight falling through an endless, cold abyss. The sun-drenched garden, the laughter, the love, all of it curdled into a grotesque, mocking illusion. My entire world tilted on its axis, and the beautiful, perfect day shattered into a million sharp, glittering pieces. What he said next made my heart sink. Liam didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The words were quiet, precise, and they landed with the force of a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs and the blood from my face. The bump, Clara, he said, his eyes holding mine, refusing to let me look away from the precipice he was pushing me towards. When the toddler ran into her, she stumbled, and the dress pulled tight. It shifted. I stared at him, my mind a complete blank. It was as if he'd spoken in a foreign language I'd never heard. The words were English, but they formed a sentence so utterly nonsensical, so alien to my reality, that my brain refused to process it. Shifted? What shifted? Her dress.
No.
He shook his head slowly, a deep, sorrowful expression on his face. He looked like a doctor about to deliver a terminal diagnosis. The whole thing, the belly, it moved independently of her body. For a split second, I saw the top edge of it, a seam right below her bra line. It's a prosthesis, Clara. A silicone belly. She's not pregnant. The world went silent. The faint, happy sounds from the party in the backyard vanished. The hum of the car's engine faded into nothingness. All I could hear was a high-pitched ringing in my ears, the sound of a universe breaking. Then, a laugh erupted from my chest. It wasn't a sound of mirth. It was a harsh, ragged, desperate bark of disbelief. A what? A prosthesis? Liam, have you lost your mind? Are you insane? I reached for the door handle. That is the most absurd, cruelest thing you have ever said. I'm going back in there. His hand shot out and covered mine on the handle, his grip firm but not painful this time. Clara, stop. Listen to me. Just for 1 minute. Take the emotion out of it and just think. Take the emotion out of it? I screeched, my voice cracking. My best friend is 8 months pregnant with a miracle baby, and you're telling me she's strapping on a piece of silicone? And you want me to be logical? You're jealous. Or you're trying to hurt me. You know how much this means to me, and you're trying to poison it because we can't. I stopped, choking on the words. The accusation, ugly and venomous, hung in the air between us. I had never, not once, accused him of being resentful of other people's pregnancies. Because he wasn't. He was my rock, the one who held me after every negative test, the one who reassured me that we were enough, with or without a child. The fact that the words had come out of my mouth showed how completely unmoored I was. Liam's face didn't register anger, only a deep hurt. "You know that's not true, Clara," he said softly. "You know I would never do that. I'm not trying to poison anything. I'm trying to show you that the well is already poisoned. You just haven't tasted it yet." "It's not possible," I whispered, shaking my head, a litany against the encroaching darkness. "I saw her. I've been with her. The morning sickness in the beginning. Her swollen ankles. The way she's always tired. She glows, Liam. You saw it." "I saw an act," he countered, his voice steady and relentless. "And it's a damn good one, I'll give her that. But it's full of holes if you're actually looking. Did you see her bend over to pick up that clothespin during the game? She folded at the waist. A woman with a real 8-month belly can't do that, Clara. Her center of gravity is off, her own organs are compressed. She would have bent at the knees instinctively to keep her balance and avoid squashing the baby. Amelia moved like a gymnast. The image flashed in my mind. Her quick and fluid. I thought it was a sign of her strength, her vitality. Wow, she's more flexible than I am. The thought, so fleeting at the time, now returned with a cold, sharp edge. She's always been athletic, I stammered, my defense sounding weak even to my own ears. "And her hands?" Liam continued, ignoring my feeble protest. "Watch a pregnant woman. Watch how she holds her belly. She supports it from underneath. She cups it. It's an instinct to support the weight, to feel connected. Amelia just rests her hands on top. Always, like she's posing for a photograph. She's not supporting a weight that's part of her. She's holding a prop in place." My own hand flew to my stomach, cupping the place where I so desperately wished for a life to grow. He was right. That's how I imagined it would feel. A need to hold, to support. Amelia's hand gestures, they were always so perfectly placed, like a model in a maternity catalog. "And Mark," Liam said, his voice dropping. "Look at him. Does he look like an excited, nervous, first-time father to you?" "No. He looks like a hostage. He's pale, he's sweating, and he can't make eye contact with anyone for more than 3 seconds. He's not radiating pride. He's radiating pure, gut-wrenching terror. The terror of being found out." The image of Mark at the barbecue, his face strained, his smile a grimace, flooded my senses. I had explained it away as stress. The nursery, the finances. But Liam was right. It wasn't the harried look of an expectant father. It was the haunted look of a man living a lie. The brief, panicked eye contact he'd made with Liam. It wasn't just a glance. It was the look of one accomplice recognizing that someone else might be onto the con. The foundation of my denial was crumbling, sand slipping through my fingers. Each of Liam's observations was a sledgehammer, cracking the perfect facade of the day. But one piece still defied his logic. "The kicking," I said, my voice small, pleading. "She said he's always kicking. She told me today he was kicking up a storm." Liam's expression softened with pity. "Clara, honey, think about it. Over all these months, have you ever once felt him kick?" I opened my mouth to protest, but the words wouldn't come. My mind scrolled back through a dozen moments. Me rushing over, hand outstretched. Amelia, smiling that radiant, beatific smile. "Oh, you just missed him. He just stopped. He's being shy today." Always a perfect excuse. Always a moment too late. I had never felt a thing. Not a flutter, not a nudge, not a kick. I had just accepted her word. Because why on earth would she lie about something so sacred? "No one has," Liam said, answering the question I hadn't dared to ask. "She tells a story, and everyone accepts it. She's counting on the fact that no one wants to question the miracle." The final wall of my denial collapsed. And in its place, a chasm of cold, horrifying clarity opened up. It wasn't just one thing. It was everything. It was 1,000 tiny details. 1,000 microscopic lies I had willingly ignored because I was so desperate to believe in the beautiful painting she had presented. Liam saw the brushstrokes, and I saw only what I wanted to see. A sob tore through me, a raw, guttural sound of grief. It wasn't just for the lie. It was for the baby. The little boy I had already named Peanut in my head. The little boy I had bought a music box for. The little boy who was supposed to be best friends with my future hypothetical son. I was mourning a child that had never existed. Liam's arms were around me, pulling me against his chest. I buried my face in his shirt and wept. I cried for the loss of that imaginary child, for the lie my best friend had told me, and for the death of the friendship I thought we had. The Amelia I knew, the sister of my heart, would never be capable of a deception this monstrous, this cruel, which meant I didn't know her at all. We sat there for what felt like an eternity, the silence of the car a sanctuary as I fell apart. Liam just held me, his hand stroking my hair, his presence a solid, unwavering anchor in the storm of my grief. He didn't say, "I told you so." He didn't say anything. He just let me cry until the sobs subsided into shuddering, hiccuping breaths. "Why?" I finally whispered into his shirt, the word muffled and thick with tears. "Why would she do this?" He pulled back slightly so he could look at me, his thumbs gently wiping the tears from my cheeks. "I don't know, Clara. I honestly don't know. But we can't confront her like this. Not until we think it through. This isn't just a simple lie. This is meticulously planned. It's pathological." He started the car, the engine a low thrum that vibrated through my exhausted body. The drive home was a blur. The familiar streets of our neighborhood looked strange, as if I were seeing them through a distorted lens. The sunny afternoon now seemed mocking, its brightness a harsh glare on my raw emotions. When we got inside our quiet house, the contrast to the party was deafening. I sank onto the sofa, feeling hollowed out, a fragile shell. Liam brought me a glass of water, his movements calm and deliberate. "Okay," he said, sitting in the armchair opposite me, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. He was back in analyst mode, but this time it was a comfort. He was creating order out of the chaos that was rampaging through my head. "Let's talk about the endgame. What's the plan here?" "The plan?" I asked numbly. "Her plan," he clarified. "She can't keep this up forever. A baby is supposed to arrive. What happens in a month? Does she claim a late-term miscarriage? It's a tragedy. Everyone rallies around her, and the lie is over." That seemed plausible in a twisted sort of way. A way to get all the sympathy and attention, to live the experience of being the expectant mother without the actual follow-through. It was sick, but it was a contained kind of sick. But as I thought about it, something else, something much darker, began to take shape in my mind. I thought of Carol, Amelia's mother, and her words at the party. This baby is a miracle, an absolute miracle. The pressure on her. I thought of our own history, our childhood dreams of having babies together. Had my own painful journey with infertility somehow fueled this? Was this a bizarre, twisted attempt to keep up, to not be left behind? The thought made me feel nauseous. What if? What if that's not the endgame? I said slowly, the terrifying idea solidifying. What if the plan isn't to fake a miscarriage? What if the plan is to get a baby? Liam's face went grim. He had already been there. That's the other possibility. An illegal adoption. A black market baby. Or worse. Worse. The word hung in the air. Worse meant snatching a child. My blood ran cold. The image of Amelia, my sweet, bubbly, loving Amelia, transformed into something monstrous. A Glenn Close character in a psychological thriller. Couldn't be. "No," I said, shaking my head. "Not Ames. She couldn't. She wouldn't. The Amelia you know wouldn't fake a pregnancy for 8 months. Either," Liam pointed out gently. "We have to accept that we are dealing with someone we don't know. Someone who is capable of a level of deception that is frankly terrifying." My phone, lying on the coffee table, suddenly buzzed to life. I jumped. The screen lit up with a text message. It was from Amelia. "Clara, you guys just disappeared. Is everything okay?" I was so worried. My thumb hovered over the screen. A wave of white-hot anger surged through me, momentarily eclipsing the grief. I wanted to type back, I know everything, you lying monster. Another text came through before I could reply. I hope it wasn't something I said in the speech. I get so emotional these days. Haha. Please just let me know you're safe. Call me. The haha. The casual, breezy tone. The sheer audacity of it. She was sitting in her garden, surrounded by presents for a phantom child, acting with perfect normalcy while my world was in ruins. I started replaying the last 8 months, but with this new, horrifying filter. The ultrasound pictures she'd shown me on her phone, always a little grainy, a little out of focus. The machine at my clinic is so old, she'd laughed. The doctor's appointments I'd offered to drive her to. Oh no. Mark's already taking the day off. Don't worry about it. The nursery I had helped her paint, spending a whole weekend covering the walls in a soft sky blue. We had talked for hours in that room about our hopes, our fears. All of it was a stage. All of it was a lie. The details that had once seemed innocuous now screamed with significance. The way she'd vaguely described her doctor as Dr. Peterson at a clinic downtown. The way she never complained about specific pregnancy ailments, only generalities like fatigue or backaches. She was an actress playing a part, and I had been her most captive audience. What do? I asked Liam, my voice a hollow echo of itself. My phone buzzed again. A missed call from Amelia. You don't have to do anything right now, he said. You can just ignore it. Block her number if you have to. No, I said, a sudden, cold resolve solidifying in my gut. I can't. If the worst-case scenario is true, if she is planning to get a baby somehow, we can't just ignore that. What if some other woman, some real mother, is in danger? The thought was galvanizing. My grief and sense of personal betrayal were immense. But this was bigger than that. This had tipped over from a personal drama into something potentially criminal. My duty was no longer just to my own broken heart, but to the innocent child that might get caught in the web of Amelia's lies. I looked at Liam, and he saw the shift in my eyes. He nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this carefully.
No acquiescents. No screaming.
We gather information. We go in with our eyes wide open. He was right. A direct, angry confrontation would only make her defensive. She would deny it, call me crazy, and then I would have shown my hand. I needed to understand. I needed to know the why. I needed to know what the endgame was. The only way to do that was to play along just for a little while longer. My phone buzzed again. Another text. Clara, I'm getting really scared. Please answer me. I need to know you're okay. I love you. I love you. The words that had been the bedrock of our friendship for 25 years now felt like acid. I took a deep, shuddering breath, my fingers trembling as I unlocked my phone. I stared at the blinking cursor, my mind racing. What could I say? How could I feign normalcy when every cell in my body was screaming? I looked up at Liam. He gave me a small, encouraging nod. We're in this together. With a sense of stepping off a cliff into a dark, unknown ocean, I began to type. My response was simple, short, and carried a weight that Amelia, in her sun-drenched garden of lies, couldn't possibly comprehend. We need to talk. I'm on my way over.